Around 2 years back, I was first getting into self-improvement, and so I looked at what do you gotta do to be in self-improvement, and a lot of people told me to start reading books. And so what did I do? I went straight to my cousin's house. I stole The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson from his place, and I started reading it. And honestly, guys, I didn't even really know how to read a book. Like, genuinely, up until this point, I haven't read a single book. Like, I've read fucking storybooks, Percy Jackson, but like, I've never read an actual self-help book that was meant to help me out, and so this was a new experience for me. And as I kept on reading the book, it made so many good points where I just didn't realize, and it was genuinely helping me out a lot. One of the things I learned from this book was that you just shouldn't give a fuck. I know, crazy. No, you just shouldn't give a fuck about your haters, basically people who aren't within your circle, because their opinions just simply don't matter. It's a clog in your mind, and that was a very good thing I learned from this book. And so it took me about a month to get through this entire book, you know. I'm a pretty slowish reader. It took me a month. And then I went to the next book, and the next book, and the next book. And then by the time a couple months have passed, I've pretty much forgotten 90% of this entire book. Yeah. I did remember the important points, like that thing I just recited to you a moment ago. But that's kind of all I remembered. And that got me thinking, what the fuck? I read this entire book, and I remember 10% of it. Like what? And I kept reading books like this for like a year, and none of them stood in my head at all. I mean, you know, apparently, fucking according to the self-improvement gurus, you know, reading books was supposed to be the ultimate life hack that, you know, hacked your life and made you a fucking 10 times sexier person, bro. What was going on? And I just kept on thinking about that for a while, and a light bulb eventually popped over my head, and I decided to give it one more shot because I'm just forgetting all these books I'm reading, bro, after a couple months. This next book, I'm going to do a little experiment. So I downloaded an illegal version of How to Win Friends and Influence People on my laptop. What? Don't look at me like that, bro. The book's like 100 years old. Don't look at me like that. I'm not a fucking... I actually do pirate a lot of things. So I started reading it as usual. However, bro, instead of this time reading the book from start to finish, I'm only allowed to read it one chapter at a time, and then after I read that chapter and gained the knowledge, gained the, you know, whatever was in that chapter, I had to implement that info of that chapter inside my life. And then, and only then, I'm only allowed to move on to the next chapter. So first off, I ended up reading a chapter in that book. This is a book on social skills, by the way. I ended up reading a chapter on smiling more. You know, becoming a more smiley person, just not frowning everywhere you go. And after reading that chapter, I went to the gym, you know, I started smiling more. I started smiling more at people, you know, giving off a much more energetic, lovely vibe around people. And guess what? It worked. People loved me a lot more after doing that. And then guess what I did? I made a video on it. And then after that, I read a chapter on becoming a better listener, because listening is underrated over speaking. If you're a good listener, that's almost as good as being a good speaker. And so what did I do? I went on a couple dates with some girls and tested out my listening skills, how to actually listen properly, bro. And also not just with listening, but also asking them, you know, questions to keep on talking about themselves. And it worked. And guess what? I made another video on it. I did the same thing with another chapter about taking interest in other people more than yourself, because people are inherently interested in themselves more than you, right? So what did I do? I one day took a group photo with a whole bunch of my friends. It was a nice photo. And when we all looked at the photo together, instead of me pointing out myself and how handsome I am, I instantly complimented my friend first. And his face lit up with joy. It worked. And then I made another video on it. And I think I made another video as well. I can't quite remember what that one was about. But can you just see the difference already? Like, genuinely, from me just reading this entire book from start to finish without implementing a thing, not really, like, you just finish reading the book and then it just stays fresh in your mind for a couple months, then after that it's gone. Whereas this book, each chapter I implemented into my life, I made a video on it speaking about my experiences doing that exact thing. Speaking about the the concepts of the book itself in the video made it stick in my mind a lot more. A lot fucking more. And guess what? Because I did it this way, instead of forgetting 90% of the book, I remembered, let's say, 50%, 60% of the book. And I know it's still not all the book, but from forgetting 90% to now remembering half the entire book is a pretty big jump. It's a massive jump, bro. So this is exactly why I believe reading is useless. Instead, read, implement. Read, implement. Unless you're reading like a storybook, then by all means, bro, keep reading. You know, you probably don't want to be Harry Potter in real life. You probably don't want to be implementing that. You'd probably be seen as a little weird, you know. I mean, I don't know, it's your life. This is what works for me. By all means, if what's working for you is working for you, keep on doing it, okay? This genuinely just works for me. What works for me, what sticks in my brain. Chances are it'll work for you. Give it a shot. Let me know how it is down in the comments below. But yeah, man, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to subscribe, like the video, and again, leave a comment. Those 3 things help me out a lot, and I'll... oh yeah, you can follow my Instagram as well. I almost forgot about that. If you want to see daily updates. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Catch you in the next one.